Sophie, what would you like this year?
I want a Motorola C139 with texting, games, and graphics.
No, you'll run the bill up.
It was the classic parent cell phone block.
I'll run the bill.
My only hope was to go straight to the source and ask him myself.
I want a Motorola C139 with texting, games, and graphics.
You'll run the bill up, kid. Ho, ho.
No.
Hadn't they heard of GoPhone from Singular, where you can pick your plan or pay as you go with no surprise bills, solving the parent-kid cell phone conundrum.
Whoa.
Singular, raising the bar.
Kids, I'm going to tell you an incredible story. The story of how I met your mother.
Is this gonna take a while?
25 years ago, I had this whole other life.
I suggest we play a little game I like to call Have You Met Ted?
What? No, what?
Hi, have you met Ted?
I'm done being single. I'm not good at it.
Okay, I'm ready. Where is she?
Come on, dude. We all know how this movie ends. Ted falls in love. Love kicks Ted in the sprouts. Roll credits.
Sitcom, all ye faithful, a Christmas podcast special. And for the fifth time I discuss 25 Christmas sitcom episodes. Please come and listen as we count down to Christmas. You should see Mr. Wilson, Tom Hanks, and Danny Thomas. Sherman Helmsley will return, and we head back to Springfield. We're definitely spending Christmas in Springfield.
Christmas!
Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome back to Sitcom, all ye faithful. It is December 11th, which means for the 11th straight day, I am here talking about Christmas sitcoms to you. But here's the cool thing. For the fourth day in a row, I'm talking about the 11th episode in a series. It was the 11th episode of Dennis the Menace. The 11th episode of a season, I should say, from a series. Because it was the 11th episode overall of Dennis the Menace, the 11th episode of the second season of The Mindy Project, the 11th episode of the fourth season of Dear John, and today I am talking about the 11th episode of the second season of How I Met Your Mother. And today I can say for the first time ever, I watched an episode of How I Met Your Mother. I remember the show being on. I remember being pleasantly surprised that it was a big hit, mainly because I've always liked Neil Patrick Harris, and I was like, oh, cool, he has another show, that he has a success on his hands. That's cool. But then I just never ever watched it. It never appealed to me. I was like, I don't know. And maybe if my wife said I wanted to watch it, then I would watch it with her. But that rarely happens with a lot of these sitcoms. I mentioned the other day I want to get her to start watching The Mindy Project. I want to do that together. I mentioned it a few times. I don't know if it's stuck or registered. I kept saying, I want to watch the show with you. I want to watch the show with you. And she kept saying, I got to go to work. Leave me alone. And then, okay, maybe that didn't exactly happen that way, but she did. It usually is when she's running around in the morning. I said, oh, don't forget, I want to watch The Mindy Project with you. But today I am talking about an episode that is 19 years old. And it gets even better because this episode aired exactly 19 years ago today. Yes, this episode aired on December 11th, 2006. And I was thinking to myself, well, what was I doing 19 years ago today? Well, I was probably working, I would imagine. Same job I'm working at now. This was the first Christmas since our move back from Florida. We did a whole 11 months in Florida until we moved back. So I think we were still living with friends. We were definitely still living with friends, staying with friends for a little while. One of which you can hear me talk to at Fine Movies, Fine Spirits over at fansnotexperts.com. And so, yeah, that wasn't the the most exciting time of my life, 2006, I'd say. But, it wasn't all bad because we had wonderful sitcoms like this. But, my wife and I staying in our friend's attic for longer than we should have been, I should say. And, it just, when I think of 2006 and I think of that and I think of the living situation, I go, probably why I wasn't planning. I didn't have a DVR. We didn't have, I forget. No, maybe I did have like a cheap TiVo by then. But again, it was just a different time. So I wasn't you weren't just able to just watch shows. It was still kind of, if you missed it, you're probably not going to see it. Early on, online show, like watching shows was coming. And I think I got our first TiVo, like I bought a TiVo at a Big Lots, which is like an overstock store. Never paid for the subscription or anything, just wanted to get be able to record shows. I think there was a way to do that without paying a subscription. I think, who can remember? It was 19 friggin' years ago. But life 19 years ago wasn't important. Well, I mean, it was, but that's not the point of this podcast. This podcast is to talk about a sitcom that I never watched. And after watching this episode, I thought, no. I mean, it was okay. It was better than like watching Dear John. I don't think it was as good as watching The Mindy Project, but this was a huge hit. It was on for like 9 years, 200 something episodes. Immensely popular. I think most of the cast was popular. I just was like, oh, Doogie Howser and Willow from Buffy, they've got a new show, and it's some other people I don't really recognize. And some of them have gone on to things like, I feel like the main guy is this guy, Ted, okay? And it's about how he met the mother. I know the premise of the show. The whole show is told in flashback. This guy is telling his kids about how he met their mother. And it's Bob Saget doing the voiceover. And all I remember is the end of the show, people were not happy with the result. It was like some random thing instead of you thinking it's one of these main girls, I guess. And you've got Allison Hannigan and you've got Jason Segel. And I always thought they were married. Now, this is only the second season, so maybe they get married and they're married for most of the show. It seems like in the series that they were together, then they broke up. Did that happen in the show, or was that like almost a thing that happened off season? I'm seeing like things where I'm seeing a flashback, but I'm assuming this flashback was part of this episode and not from old episodes. So the whole premise of the show is these are a bunch of 20-something white people living in the city, living up life. I guess CBS's answer to like the more modern version of Friends, with the premise of towards the end of the show you're going to actually meet this guy's wife, who ends up being the mother of whoever. Do I have it down right? And in the meantime, hilarity ensues. Neil Patrick Harris plays Barney, this like overly, he's not Kick from Dear John, but he is just kind of a chauvinistic, womanizing guy, but he's loyal to his friends. He seems like he's that kind of guy. It's like, one of those guys, like, I can be dicky to you guys, but if someone else is dicky to you, I'll stick up for you. Is he that kind of guy? I think so. And he's just kind of he's always in suits. He's a little pompous, and he likes TV tropes, because in this trope he plays the character who doesn't believe he's sick and can get rid of sickness. Now I'm thinking there was another show where there was something funny where the guy goes, "Sickness be gone," and what is that from? When the guy says he can make sickness go away. Okay, now I'm looking it up, and it's from it's Dennis. It's Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Sickness be gone. That is the right way to do this. And okay, maybe it's a trope because I saw Dennis do it first, where he completely didn't believe he was sick, and he told sickness to be gone. Barney, on the other hand, he just kept saying, I'm not sick, but he's sneezing in people's faces. This is me. I'm like watching this going, ooh, he's trying to high-five people after he's sneezing in his hand. He finally says he wants to go play laser tag, and then finally falls asleep. And the character played by Colby Smulders, I don't know who any of these people. Okay, now that guy's name is Ted, so I know that. and Lily. This was the day that I found out that Allison Hannigan's character is named Lily. And is he Marshall? Is that Jason Segel? Now, I know Jason Segel. I remember him being like learning about him or knowing from him from this show. But the first time I watched him was in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and then I went back and watched all of Freaks and Geeks, and I loved him in both things. And so, but that's where I thought, I get his appeal. He must be one of the best parts of the show, and he actually probably was one of the best parts of the show. Okay, he plays Marshall. So there's Barney, Ted, Marshall. Then you have Allison Hannigan's Lily, and Robin. Okay, that's her name. So, I almost got everyone's name. I just didn't remember Robin. And so Robin and Ted are together in this episode. But I'm assuming they break up, they get back together, they break up, they get back together. I didn't know until about 90% through this episode that they were even dating. She comes over. At one point, he needs to go. He's going to go have holidays with his family without her. But he's like, I'll make it up for you tomorrow. I thought, okay, maybe they're together. Then at the end, they have a little smooch. I was like, oh, they're a couple. No idea. Did not pick up on that at all. But she's not the mother, even though I think everyone wanted her to be forever. So that's kind of, I think that's people got annoyed by that. I think. So here's the premise of the show. Here's the premise of this episode: How Lily Stole Christmas, which, by the way, is another pun on How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I already did How the Finch Stole Christmas. Now it's How Lily Stole Christmas. The whole thing is Jason Segel's character. He's all excited about Christmas, and he loves the Winter Wonderland to the point where it was kind of silly. Where he loves the Winter Wonderland, and he's like, I need to go take a test today, right? A test or a paper, whatever. I need to go do something at school for law school. But my reward is Winter Wonderland. So he walks through the apartment with his eyes closed the whole time, like, I won't look, and hilarity ensues. And Ted and Lily's decorating everything. She's making the cookies. Everything's going to be perfect. Ted's like, oh, look at this. I found an old answering machine for some reason. He plugs it in and he goes, oh, look, there's an old message. And it's all the way old from the summer. So it's not that old. I don't know why they needed to plug it in. And he's like, it's from Ted giving Marshall a message when I guess Lily and Marshall broke up for a while. So he says, you don't need to be with her, you don't need to deal with that Grinch anymore. And then, much like A Christmas Story, the voiceover, Bob Saget, the adult version, says, but I didn't say Grinch. And then Ted says, fudge. He goes, and I didn't say fudge. And the whole premise of the show is based on this word, which I just assumed the whole time was bitch, but then I looked up on Reddit, and well, again, this is just guesses, but people are like, what was the word Lily said that Ted said? I was like, why wouldn't it have been bitch? And then they were convinced it's the C word, the big one. And I'm like, you know what? That makes more sense. I guess Lily says, like, she has a line that she says a lot. It's like saying something with bitch. So that word may not shock her as much. And then at the end, like, these kids are chanting it, and the mother spits up, and then Ted says it at a restaurant, and a woman looks at him like in shock. So a bitch probably wouldn't be that word now that I think about it. Now, they said Grinch the whole time, so that was a cute little, like, premise. But the fact that you think it's the worst word possible, thinking that now actually makes it a little funnier. So she gets all pissed off at Ted about it, and he goes, well, you were kind of a Grinch. Now, they kept saying Grinch pretty much the whole time, and she's mad at him. He storms off, so she goes and takes all of Christmas. I don't know why she did this to her boyfriend, but she did it to, I guess, punish Ted. Doesn't really make that much sense when you think about it. So he comes back. He sees Robin and Barney. He tells him what he did. He's like, I don't know why she's so mad. You know what? Let's go apologize. They go back to the apartment, and all the Christmas decorations are gone. Turns out she moved them all back to her apartment. She's going to do it there instead. Oh, maybe that's it. She's going to have Marshall come there and screw you and your Winter Wonderland. You're not going to get it. I guess that's a big punishment. And he's like, no, and her apartment's too small. And he's like, I'm sorry, Grinch, 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 Grinch. Like, he kept saying Grinch. And then landlord upstairs said, if you keep talking like that, I'm going to turn off your electricity or I'm going to turn off your heat, or he turned off the power. So it had to be a worse word than bitch. Okay, what the hell else? Oh, the silliest part, well, Barney, he is sick and Robin makes him soup. That's, okay. And he's like, I'm too weak to lift a bowl. So she's feeding him soup. I guess that was funny. Marshall called and's like, can you describe the Winter Wonderland to me? Describe all the decorations. And to me, I don't know Marshall that much. So is he always this dopey, like sappy, like into things like this? Because that seemed a little much, a little stupid, because there's no decoration. So how can he talk about them? In fact, Ted was leaving town. He was going to spend time with his overly religious cousin who don't even celebrate Christmas, like any gifts, any like commercialized version of Christmas. So that's where he's going. Now when Lily stormed off, she goes, and don't forget, or she hung up on him. She goes, don't forget about the cookies. So Marshall asked about the cookies. Ted forgot about the cookies. And then it cuts to Robin, spraying the oven with fire extinguisher. That was kind of funny. The funniest to me, the part I liked the most was probably Marshall, actually, because Marshall comes back later with a gift, and he's like, "Oh, let me tell you a wonderful Christmas adventure that I went on." So he wasn't on a taking a test. In fact, he was going to buy her this special gift. He was getting it shipped to her, but it didn't show up on time. He was trying to intercept it while it was being, sent through the mail. And he runs after this mail truck and he goes, "Can I get a package out of your back?" And the guy goes, "Sure." Like just like that. He goes, "Oh, thank you." He goes, "Hey, I'm glad someone's going to get their gift on Christmas." He goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "With all these gifts I have, I don't think I'm going to be able to deliver everything on time." So then Marshall ends up spending the next few hours with this UPS delivery man delivering all the Christmas gifts. So that was kind of funny, a little montage of that. And it reminded me of 20-something years ago. I was finished with school. I didn't have a job yet. I didn't have the job that I eventually got and still are in today. So I spent one winter making some extra money as a UPS driver helper, meaning that I got in the truck with the guy and I had the full brown suit. I mean, I felt powerful in that suit, full brown suit. And I had a tablet that I knew how to use it. I would, fill up the pallet. Like we'd go to these big apartment areas. He'd give me a bunch of stuff. I'd go off and deliver them. I'd run up to the house and back. I actually felt like I got in, I wouldn't say in good shape, but I did kind of like, I was running around so much that I was like, oh, I could actually move and I'm not tired going upstairs. Believe me, 20-something years ago, I was a different size. It was a different time. So that brought back memories of how busy it really was on Christmas. And then, of course, I bailed on the guy on Christmas Eve. I said, I can't do it. I'm going away. Even though I was just going to the next town over to my aunt's, I did not want to miss out on any of the Christmas traditions. So I chose not to. And it's just, wow, this is so long ago. Yeah, I wasn't married, didn't have a job. And I was working, part-time at UPS for a month. And it was exhilarating. But anyway, that was a fun moment. And then she opens the box up and finds an old Easy Bake Oven, like literally the exact Easy Bake Oven she wanted as a kid. And he goes, "Yeah, you know who told me this?" It turns out Ted remembered her talking about that in college. Apparently, the three of them went to college together. I don't know if they all did, but at least the three of them did. And they smoked a lot of weed, and they all had, Ted and Lily had really bad hair. Marshall looked exactly the same, but he was into weed too. They just all loved it. I missed that, and I missed that memo in college. And she mentioned Easy Bake Oven all the way back then, and Ted remembered, and Ted told Marshall, and now Lily felt bad. So they all go to get Ted at the cousin's house and bring him back. He's like, "Oh, Christmas carols are here." They sing Christmas carols, but one of them says the Grinch word, and then all the kids start repeating it, and the parents spit up their food. But they bring Ted a beer, like a big glass of beer, like here. Like that was, I guess, their way of that's their way of asking for forgiveness. And then they all head back to, I guess, to happiness in New York City. After the credits end with Marshall just eating a big pile of leftover cookie batter that was in the, in the bowl. They always say don't do that. Like, I think they say that to cover their tracks, because I would do that in a second. But that pretty much covers the episode. I get why people like the show. But I wasn't like, I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was anything special. Like, I didn't get anything out of it that I was like, oh my God, that was really good. And again, I'm going back to the Mindy Project. I just, that got me. That show pulled me in. Nothing else has done that quite as much so far. And I'm thinking about all the shows that I watched. They were all, no, Abbott Elementary, but I already watched that. Like, they're all, sitcom with laugh tracks. And it's funny, the shows that I think are probably the better ones are the ones without the laugh tracks. The class, like, what do they call those? Are those the single camera? Is that how they call that, single camera? Film like a movie where you're not like on, it doesn't feel like you're on a set and you're waiting for the joke to land and then the laugh track to happen. Which is the traditional sitcom, which I do appreciate those, but they don't, I was brought up on those. We were all brought up on those, but it's watching them again. They're more, sometimes they're cuter than they are actually laugh out loud funny. But as I said, this aired exactly 19 years ago today, and I talked about my wonderful living situation, our wonderful living situation 19 years ago with my wife and I. So let's go back to 19 years ago and talk about what was on the networks that evening. And if I am looking at everything correctly, I'm telling you, there was not one thing I watched here on these networks. On NBC, it was an episode of Deal or No Deal, which, every so often I'd see, but it was, what a, not an exciting show to watch. Did you ever watch Deal or No Deal Island? That just got canceled. I watched every episode of that show. That show was so stupid, and I watched every episode. Then at 10 o'clock, was it a 2-hour episode? No, at 9 o'clock on NBC, a TV movie, The Year Without Santa Claus, a 2006 version. I didn't even know that existed. A live action 2006 with John Goodman, Chris Kattan, Ethan Suplee from Earl, Eddie Griffin, Delta Burke. What the hell? Harvey Firestein, Michael McKean, Carol Kane, Dylan Minnette. I know that name too. Is that one of the kids from Sweet Life of? Oh no, that's someone from 13 Reasons Why. Oh, that kid. Oh my God, what a cast of a movie that I didn't know existed and probably is awful. So that was what was on NBC. On ABC, so I didn't watch any of that. On ABC was Wife Swap, followed by Super Nanny, followed by What About Brian? Nope. None of those. On Fox, we had what the hell? Where are you, Fox? Brand new 2-part episode of House. Nope. Never watched House at all. Never saw one episode of friggin' House. Then we jump over to, Monday Night Football. The Bears killed the Rams that night, but that was on ESPN. CW, Everybody Hates Chris. I did watch the first season of that. Maybe that was still the WB then. I don't remember watching it much after that. I don't remember what season this is. But, maybe I watched that episode. Maybe. Followed by All of Us, Girlfriends, and The Game. Nope. Never saw any of those. I've heard of Girlfriends, and I remember The Game wasn't that on CW? Then it went, is that the show that went to BET? Am I crazy thinking that's like the Tia Tamara show? Anyway, over on CBS, we had a bunch of shows that I heard of, a bunch of shows that I remember, and not one of them have I ever watched an actual episode of. We're talking How I Met Your Mother. This was the first time I watched that, followed by The Class. I don't remember that at all. Followed by 2.5 Men, a huge hit of a show that I was very shocked. How could people think this is good? That's when I see my parents watching The Neighborhood, most CBS sitcoms, I go, what is happening? How did this happen? And then followed by The New Adventures of Old Christine, back when I thought, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she has a show on her hands. That's good for her. Before I friggin' loved her on Veep. That was CBS. And then at 10 o'clock, a CSI Miami. I didn't watch anything that evening. 2006, maybe I was watching reruns of maybe I was, what would I have been doing? Just working on my computer and watching reruns of Smallville? Maybe Smallville DVDs? Was I caught up by then? Who knows? What a time. It feels like a lifetime ago, and yet it also feels like 10 minutes ago. But you know what else? I don't know how I'm going to segue, but here I go. You know what else feels like 10 minutes ago? Me talking about the show. There, that was a perfect sitcom. Perfect segue. I can't even talk. But I need to get to work now, so I'm going to finish up here. And guess what? Here's the cool thing. I will be back tomorrow talking about another Christmas sitcom. But here's something even more exciting. I'm not going to be alone. That's a little tease. I'm going to put that little tease out for you. So until tomorrow, my friends, you can find me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, except TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. You can find me on Facebook at Fans.Experts, on YouTube at Fans.Experts. That's because the website where all these podcasts are found is fansnotexperts.com. That's it. I am done. I need to stop my workday now, so I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Again, not alone, so we will talk to you tomorrow. But until then, thank you for listening, thank you for subscribing, and here is my theme song.
This is my podcast, I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.